Will League here with our friends at Timberlake, League and Brooks. Thank you so
right.
much for joining us.
Georgia, happy to be here.
Of course. Well, we're always happy to have you. And so we're talking today about homeowners insurance and storm damage.
We are, you know, with all the storms and whatnot, we're seeing a lot of claims and actually looking at, you know, different types of denials from insurance carriers. I don't know if anybody saw 60 Minutes last night on the report from Florida storm claims. Certain insurance companies and what you need to be on the lookout for. Let's say an independent adjuster comes out, looks at your property and does a report. Based on the ABC report last night, 90-something% of the independent adjuster claims that were sent to the insurance company were adjusted down without the independent adjuster not knowing. So Georgia, basically, let's say your house has $100,000 worth of damage. I'm an independent adjuster. I come out and say, I think it's going to take $100,000 to repair your home. And then the insurance, and I submit that to the insurance carrier. Well, they say, you know what, we don't believe it. We're going to go with maybe $9,000. And so some of the reductions have been pretty alarming, and I think there's going to be a class action lawsuit in Florida and other areas of the country. And so give us a shout if you got a question about a homeowner's claim. Given the storm damage, it's on front of mind a lot of homeowners. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, remember that number is 256-536-0077 if you want to give us a call and ask your questions. But, well, that's pretty scary for these people who are having to go through all this damage and they aren't even able to trust their insurance.
You know, and I get it. It's, you know, it's about, you know, bringing in premiums, paying little on claims. That's the business model. But what we're seeing are unreasonable denials when you've got an independent adjuster who comes out and gives an assessment and then presents that to the insurance carrier, and they unilaterally, without even notifying the adjuster, that they are now adjusting that claim in the negative against their insured. So if you got a claim, Georgia, make sure that you know your policy. I get it, nobody reads all that stuff, but make sure you've got that type of coverage. Make sure you're keeping your property, you know, with proper maintenance, because one of the denials is if you fail to mitigate or keep your property in a working order, and they can say, you know what, based on you not fixing this or that, the damage was worse, and we're not going to cover that. So we're seeing a lot of denials based on whether it be the policyholder at fault for failing to fix or regulate something on their own property. Yeah. And that's something to look out for.
Absolutely. And I mean, storm damage is nothing new to us here in North Alabama. Just last week, we had a building in Gunnersville completely collapsing on itself because of all the rain. And I was out there and, you know, talking to the owner. He's like, well, thankfully I have insurance. But if that happens and somebody gets one of these denials that they don't think is right, what do they need to do? You know,
and they're banking on, or at least this ABC story last night, and what we see is the insurance carrier is banking on you not calling, you know, taking them to task. And, you know, a lot of people don't. I'm just going to eat this loss. I don't feel like talking to a lawyer or going, and they're difficult cases to prosecute, and the insurance companies are banking on that. And so if you don't feel like, you know, get a copy of the independent adjuster's report and compare that with what the insurance company has and see why they're dumbing down your claim, because it could cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Always be sure to double check. And just remember, we've still got a couple of minutes in our long call, so if you want to give us a call, it's 256-536-0077. We can answer your questions. But, you know, with these adjustments and that these independent sources are making, what do people need to do to check up on that?
You know, sometimes you can get your own estimate and that make sure you have a strong footing to fuss with the insurance carrier, and, you know, to make sure that that independent adjuster is truly independent. Again, they're being paid by the insurance company. I get it, sometimes it takes more of your time, energy, and effort to get your own adjuster out there, but you want to know what the damage is and what's the real world cost of fixing it. Because if the insurance company, let's say the adjuster comes out and said it's $15,000, the insurance company say, well, we'll pay 12. You're like, you know what, don't want to fuss with it. What if it takes 30? Then you've already accepted that check, signed the release, your claim is done, and now you're out that money. And so, unfortunately, more due diligence on your behalf is required, so you don't have to get taken advantage of. You pay your premiums, you got damage, you know, a deal's a deal. And let's be fair about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, y'all do have a blog that y'all talk about these types of issues on.
We do, law-injury.com. And, you know, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more unreasonable denials. You know, so check us out, and hopefully you don't need us because it means something bad's happened, but if you do, we're happy to try and help.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Will. And if you didn't get your questions answered, remember you can always call our friends over at Timberlake, League & Brooks. And of course, as always, we are happy to have you, and we will see you next week.
Georgia, thank you for having me.